All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming. It's great to see you. Today's webinar is brought to you by MCSC Women's Business Center. We're a nonprofit business center serving entrepreneurs in SLO, Kern, and Monterey counties. Today's webinar is being sponsored by the SBA, Wells Fargo Bank, Pacific Premier Bank, and the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development. Their generosity allows us to offer this webinar, mentoring, and our entrepreneurial training courses to you at no charge. Thank you, sponsors. We offer free assistance and entrepreneurial training to budding entrepreneurs and small businesses with professionals in social media, e-commerce, business plans, licensing, funding, tax planning, and recovery strategies. We have professionals in all areas of business who are ready to help you. Our contact information is on the screen, and I'll put it in the chat box shortly. I would like to thank Nisse and Noble for presenting today. Nisse built 4 successful businesses from the ground up by the age of 25, and she just launched her 5th business called Hardback Spirits. Her experiences have spanned many industries and disciplines, including e-commerce, nonprofit, product creation, SaaS, marketing, social media, direct sales, and graphic design. As a door-to-door saleswoman, she was top rookie with sales in the top 1% of over 2,000 salespeople. She's helped so many of our clients because she's one of our consultants. She's taught them how to be successful in sales. Nisse is not only a practitioner of everything she teaches, but she's passionate about sharing it with you. So before we get started, I just wanted to cover a few basic housekeeping items. This is a webinar, so your cameras are off and your microphones are muted. Don't forget to mute your phone and limit your distractions. We'll be taking questions through the chat box. Please type them in whenever you think about them, and we'll get to them when it's appropriate. This webinar is being recorded, and I will email you the link once it's processed. All our webinars are recorded, in fact, and you can view them all on our YouTube channel, and I'm going to put that link in the chat box for you in a little bit. So it's always good to know how people hear about this webinar, so I am going to launch a 30-second poll. If you could please put in your response, that would be great. Thank you. All right, without further ado, I hand you over to Nisse.
All right. Hey, thanks, Barbara. That was perfect, that introduction. It was wonderful, and it was exactly how I wrote it. So I'm grateful to be here, guys. I want to thank Mission Community Services Center for having me come in today. And I hope you're all ready to get going. I know you can't see your faces, but I would hope that you're all raising your hands and just so pumped to talk about sales today. I'm going to share my screen. I have a PowerPoint to share with all of you. And I know I see some familiar faces here, some people that I know. Let's get this thing going. Oh, wait, hang on. I remembered I had to do it a certain way to make it work. I have to share first so you can see behind the scenes for a moment. Don't peek behind the curtain. We're going to be okay. Okay, can you see it? Barbara, help me.
Yes, I had to find my unmute button, but we're still seeing your notes.
Wait, dang it. Okay, hold on.
We're looking behind the curtain. There we go. Perfect.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, let's get going. So the spirit of the time today is really to be introspective. Here's just a little bit more about me so that you have something to look at while I'm talking. I can't assume to know where any of you are at. We're all in different spots. We all have different businesses. And my hope is that you can take a few things away from today that you can implement in your business, that you can help to sell more stuff or sell yourself better or whatever it is that you sell, which I would like to find out soon. And really just to ask ourselves, right, like, where are we at? It's mid-July. Are we being honest? What's going well? What could we do better? And then at the end of my talk, we'll talk a little bit about Mission Community Services. Barbara will tell you a bit more. I highly recommend signing up to be a client. We offer free business consulting for really anyone in any facet of business, entrepreneurship, leadership, whatever. And we'd love to help you reach your goals. So we'll tell you a little bit more about that at the end and what that looks like. And if that's a fit, cool. And if not, that's okay too. let's get on with it to our next slide. So I would just like to do a wee icebreaker. And I'd love to know your name and your first job. This is me, slightly before one of my first jobs as a lemonade stand. Clearly, I've been into Doritos since the womb. But I just want to break the ice a little bit and connect to you guys for one moment. My first job was, first real job was I was a busser at a diner. I'm looking for the chat right now. There it is. Look, there's a couple of you. Heather, oh, this is your current job. I want to know your first job, Heather. Like, what you do now is really awesome. She's a structural engineer, by the way. Heather is amazing. But what was your first job? Did you work at Subway? Were you a bagger? Bruce was a golf caddy. That's a great first job. I love that. Anybody else brave? Oh, Kenneth, a checker at a grocery store in Austin. Michelle, first job at a flea market. Dental assistant at a pottery studio. Heather, that sounds fun. Babysitter. Okay, strong, like that. Accounting. Wow, Nina, that's a pretty solid first job there. Looks like Lorelei sold cable television by phone. Wow, that's hard. Karen worked at a packing shed. Vidya taught horseback riding. This is so much fun. Babysitting, maybe, could be McDonald's. Catherine, probably hard to remember the way back then. Sarah says her first job, courtesy clerk at the grocery store. Okay, I was also a courtesy clerk at Nob Hill. So maybe you were in the Rayleigh's family of stores, Sarah. Working for your parents, Margie, doing bookkeeping. This is awesome. Well, I'll let you guys keep going. I just wanted to get you guys warmed up to the chat and warmed up to each other, because sales is all about building relationships. And I definitely don't want it to just be me talking at you the whole time today. So thank you so much for participating. Loving it. Okay. And then the next thing, before I get into, I'm going to tell you what we're going to talk about today. We're going to get into a whole list of stuff. And what I want to do first, just to kind of center us, to get you in your seat in here today, July 14th, we're halfway through the month. There's 5 months left in 2021. And I just want us to really remember that and get back to the reason why you're here listening to some blonde girl talk about the sexiest topic ever, right? Sales. I want you to revisit back to January and think about what are some of the results that you wanted to have for this year, for 2021. What are some, and the reason I say results, it's not like a goal. It's like, what did you actually want to see? Just think about that for a second. For me, it's been a lot about my health. I've had some health issues. So for me, it's been, I really wanted to move my, my health level. I had a number and I'm trying to move it up a few ticks on the ladder, if you will. If anybody's brave enough to share that, feel free to put that in the chat. I would love to see that. But the reason that I want us to do this just for a minute is that a lot of those results that we want, maybe some are personal, like I said, but a lot of them often when it comes to business have to do with sales. And, you know, if they don't, some extra sales don't hurt, right? And so that's exactly why we're here. We're going to talk about sales and hopefully get us a little bit closer to those results that we wanted for this year. Okay, here's what we're going to talk about today. Check us out. We're so awesome and we already did our icebreaker. And then we're going to talk about perceptions of sales. I'm going to talk a little bit about the habits of top salespeople. I'm going to kind of go over that quickly. We're going to go over the cycle of a sale. We're going to talk about how to cover objections. We're going to talk about referrals. And I do want to mention that today is going to be a little bit one size fits all. And that's because, like I said before, I do know a couple of you, but I can't assume to know where any of you are at or what you sell or what you struggle with. So my intention today is just to cover a few broad categories, give you a quick look, some tips, some things that you can take and work on right away. But I'm also working on the assumption that you aren't all professional salespeople. You're not, I mean, with the exception of Lorelei, who apparently did phone sales, my assumption is that a lot of you are business owners or budding entrepreneurs, and sales is obviously a part of that, but it's not necessarily the number one thing that you do. So I'm hoping you'll walk away with a couple tools for the tool belt that you can practice and script out. A lot of sales is practice. And then if there are some specific areas that you're wanting one-on-one help with, you can consult with myself or many of our other talented consultants for free. So, all right, here we go. So this is the perception of sales, part of our topic list, if you remember that. And this is really what we're going to learn today. We're talking about how do we elevate sales? And that's really twofold, right? Obviously, we want to make more money. Cool. But I also want to elevate the practice and perception of sales to you. And I want to address this first before we get into how to sell and the cycle of the sale and all of that, because what we think about becomes our reality. We've all heard that. Maybe we've got a Tony Robbins or whatever motivational speaker we enjoy, or books. But sales, even though sales is completely necessary in every single business, and it's really a noble profession, we often don't think about it that way, do we? We don't really think of sales as this really awesome thing. We probably have a lot of negative perceptions about sales. And so I want to hear it. What are some of the reasons that we don't see sales as a positive thing most of the time? I'd love to hear a couple notes in the chat. Ooh, Catherine, I like your goal. Find, develop, and move into my true passions and skill sets in all areas of life. Hell yes, loving it. Heather wants to have a business generate a replacement income. That's awesome too. Anybody want to share why you may not love sales? I can tell you, oh, broken promises. That's pretty good. I love it, Rochelle. Anybody else?
For those of you who are not typists, if you actually want to speak, you can just type in there that you want to speak and I will unmute you.
Oh, I hope I'm saying it right, Anupa. I hate feeling like that person that always wants something. Yes. Ugh. I want to create and paint. Lack of communication, follow through from salespeople, used car salesmen, personalities, right? Sometimes we might think of like sleazy or pushy, maybe manipulative. And what I want to kind of untrain you on that thought process, because remember, what we think about is what becomes reality, right? Yeah, Nina, pushy, make false promises. If we have that perception of sales, if when we go in to sell ourselves or to sell our services or to sell our products, if we have that in the back of our minds, we're going to portray that. We're going to somehow become a little bit used car salesman-y. We might become a little pushy. We might make some false promises. And I don't know all of you in here, but I do know a few of you, and I can tell you that none of you are the type that make false promises or are pushy or use car salesman-y or don't love what they do. And I'm hoping to just change that mindset a little bit, to think about sales as a service. You know, so it really is that you are just helping your customers make a choice, whether that's to buy your item or not. It's okay if they say no. But if nothing else from today, I just hope that you walk away from this presentation with a more positive mindset towards sales. And just to remind yourself that you're not any of those things. You're the person that is trying to help your customer with a decision in their life, whatever that is, right? So I hope that you feel better about sales. And then this is another chat box moment, please. I would love for today to be as personal as possible. And I would love to know what some of you guys sell. And so that because we're going to go through some examples, I'm going to do some role plays by myself, which is going to be hilarious for you guys. And I'd love to know what you sell so that I can use those as an example. For me, let me move this out of my way. I'm starting a distillery. So I'm going to be selling rum to distributors. Awesome. So Vidya, you're an oil painter. So you're selling oil paintings. I'm assuming, is that directly to the customer, or do you go to shows, or are you selling to galleries? That's what I would be curious about. Anybody else want to share some of those things? Bruce, eating and drinking experience. Jerry, nutrition and wellness services. Awesome. I'm curious about this eating and drinking experience, Bruce. Rochelle sells massage therapy. All right, keep them coming, guys, because I will kind of pull from some of those. I'm actually going to write a couple of those down. So Rochelle sells massage and Reiki. Anupa, training and development services. Anupa, can you say a little more about that? What do you mean? Training and development services.
Hi, it's probably easier than typing it in.
Yes.
Yeah, so I do, I have a master's degree in adult learning. So on the job, that's things like employee training, leadership training, operational efficiency, compliance, regulatory, onboarding, you name it. Basically, every business that says, I have a problem and work isn't getting done right, I'll probably come in and evaluate it and say, is it an employee training issue? Is it a process issue? Is it a tweak or an entire curriculum? So
okay,
it's fun.
and who's your customer typically?
Typically it would be a corporation. It would probably be a training department, not necessarily a training department, but it would be some operational function. Sometimes it's within HR because the operation will go to a corporation or to HR and say, we need training help. I've been working more recently with small businesses. My brother is a small business owner in Bakersfield, awesome. And he's been like, you got to help me. Because I think small businesses don't have that resources or knowledge. And so pretty much anybody can be my client, but it generally tends to be corporations.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much for that information. That's really helpful. And I'm writing some of these down too. Heather, I've got you structural engineering. I already knew that, but now we all do. And then Karen and Vidya sell artwork. Bruce has got a beer, wine, and bites at the beach. I'm into that. Also beach bums. Okay. Does anyone sell just a
Can I just add something here? Anupa is actually one of our consultants as well. She works with the Kern County office, but all of those talents she just mentioned, she's one of our consultants. Hi, Anupa.
I am, but I'm really crappy at selling myself.
You did a good job, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Looks like Kayla's a nutrition coach. Does anybody sell besides, looks like Karen and Vidya sell artwork? Is anybody in the business of selling commodities like specific products, or is it mostly services? Looks like a lot of services and restaurants. Anyway, I'll let that keep going. Got a nutrition coach. So that's really helpful. Oh, Kara has a toothpaste tablet company. Oh, that's fun. Okay. Kara, toothpaste tablet. And Kara, is that, do you sell typically direct to consumer, or do you sell to resellers? Curious, or maybe both. All right, that's helpful. I don't want to spend too much time here, but this is really awesome. Thank you so much.
We sell to both. Just to answer your question, we do both online on our website. It's Do Your Plan of the Solid, and then also we're really looking to get into retailers as well.
Retailers, okay. All right, awesome. Thank you so much, you guys. Super helpful. All right, so we're going to start. I'm going to go over this briefly, but I just want to talk about the habits of top salespeople. And one of the reasons I want to start here is because sales is hard and you're going to face a lot of rejection, and you have to have good habits to succeed, really. Plus, we all like to learn from the best, and I thought you guys might enjoy that. I worked multiple times for a company called Southwestern, who they were really big into direct selling. So not, when I say that, you probably think of like Mary Kay or MLM businesses, but this was really like door-to-door type sales and recruiting, selling, and motivating salespeople since 1855. So that's pre-light bulb. And I worked with them as a door-to-door saleswoman. I also went through certification to be a professional sales and leadership coach. So, and I've done a lot of that, actually, not just my own selling, but teaching people how to sell. And so over the years, that company that I was telling you about, and the only reason I'm telling you about them is for the purposes of telling this story, they trained over 200,000 top producing salespeople. So they worked with big companies going in and revamping their entire sales process for companies like Farmers Insurance and Verizon and Bridgestone Tires and a lot more. I don't work with them anymore, but I just wanted to let you know that they do know a little bit about sales. And they actually studied all the best salespeople so that they could really share, what separated that top 1% from the rest of them. What are they doing different? And what it came down to is that it wasn't a trick or anything manipulative. It was really just their habits, the things that they did. It's more about their internal mindset and how they went about their work. So nothing in here is going to be mind-blowing, but what I think is cool about this is that all of us can change our habits. I don't assume to think that anybody in this room wants to be a top 1% salesperson. We're all busy with our businesses. We're all busy with other things that we have going on, and sales is maybe not the number one thing that you're focused on. But what's cool about these 3 habits is that we can all be a little bit better at these, which means that we can all improve our sales. So the first habit is, and again, very simple things, guys. They find a way and not an excuse. So that doesn't mean that they don't have excuses. It doesn't mean that you don't think about like, gosh, I really wish I could avoid calling that client, or I wish I could, maybe I don't feel good today, or I woke up late, or whatever it is. Instead of listening to those excuses, they find a way to make it work. And this is really big. Honestly, it's a simple thing, but it changes our self-image, it defines our behavior, and that changes our results. It's really reprogramming your thoughts. The second one is that they're students of the game. They make sure, these are humble people that say, you know what, I don't have it all figured out. I could learn a little bit more about that. And aren't those the most fun people to be around anyway? Rather than those ones that have got this big ego and they're like, oh, I already know everything. The people that are the best at sales tend to be the people that learn the most. They're always trying to get better. They're always trying to invest in themselves and get outside help, to get people to consult with them or to hire a coach or whatever it is that they need. And then the last one is just that they take action now. They don't get stuck in procrastinationville. They may feel fear, right? You feel scared, you're like, I don't want to do this thing, but they take action anyway. So whether that's pick up the phone, or whether it's to try to start up that new branch of their business, rather than kind of hiding behind their fear, they actually take action. And this, I wonder if any of you can guess. I don't know if any of you are procrastinators, but I tend to be one. And I like to call it creative avoidance, because most of us don't really fess up to the fact that we're procrastinating. We're just thinking about, oh gosh, well, I got to get this done and that done. And oh, maybe I'll go and make lunch now. I got to go to the bathroom before I need to call that client. That's called creative avoidance. So it's just a very expensive thing that none of us take the time to recognize. And one other thing to throw out there to you in terms of this is a very complicated graph, as you can see, but we are all subject to this law of diminishing intent. So when it comes to our mindset and our customers' mindsets, when they decide to make choices, from the moment you learn about something or you have an intention to do something, the longer you wait, the less likely you are to do it. So that applies to ourselves whether it's us, hey, I got to make that call today, or I need to, maybe you need to go to the gym, right? You have the intention in the morning, and then as the day goes on, it's less and less and less likely to happen, whether that's today or the year. And the same thing happens for our customers. So when we are in a sales conversation with them, and they have this intention to buy or this intention to work with you, the longer that they wait, the less likely they are to do it. And this is an important point because a lot of us think, oh, I told them about it, they'll get back to me when they're ready, right? Oh, they'll call me. And they intend to, they truly intend to call you. But guess what happens? Their kids get sick, COVID happens, any number of things get in the way, and they just don't. So it's really important to, along with that last habit, to take action now for yourselves and also for your clients if you want them to buy something. All right, so for each of us, just to keep us a little honest, I would be curious to hear which one of these for you do you think, when we think back about those results that we wanted for this year, for 2021, which one of you or which one of these 3 habits could you do a little bit better on in the second half of the year to reach those results? Is it that you could be better at finding a way, not an excuse? Is it that you could learn more, be a better student of the game, get some help with something? Or maybe you just need to do the darn thing and not procrastinate. And probably for me, it's number 1. I could make a few less excuses. Rochelle, find a way, agreed. Sarah, all 3. Anupa 3, take action. Nina 1, Heather 3. Yeah, I mean, these are all pretty important. I know simple, like I said, it's not rocket science, certainly not even structural engineering, but it is important and it does make a big difference. All right. Oh, this was my little, where are you? Where's Waldo? He's coming in a little late, but I'll let you guys all enter. It looks like a good number of 3. Catherine, difficult to decide, 2 or 3. My recommendation, just in general, in terms of improving or self-improvement, this is all internal stuff, right? Our mindset, the way that we think about things, is just to choose one thing and work on that rather than trying to do everything, right? We might say, oh gosh, I could get better at all of these, but try and pick 1 or 2 small things to work on, and that makes it a little bit easier to swallow. Okay, so I just want to, actually, I'm just going to go back to this guy real quick. And before we get into the cycle of the sale, which is where we're going to talk about some nerdy sales stuff, I just wanted to talk about that transition. So these 3 habits, I know we hit on them quickly. It's because they're not that complex, but they are important. That's really our internal, our mindset, the way that we show up every day makes a big difference. And what we're going to talk about now is we're going to talk about external. So I don't know if you've studied emotional intelligence, but what we were talking about is more the internal, our self-management, our self-awareness. But now we're going to move into external. So our social management, our social awareness. So the things that we do, the way that we act in front of other people is going to get them to act and behave differently. So that way you can sell more stuff or help more families, or get more people to, for Bruce, it's get more people to drink a little more beer and wine, have a couple bites by the beach, or maybe Kayla, it's getting a few more people to sign up for your coaching. Rochelle, maybe that 1 or 2 more people to get a massage, or to come over to you with some Reiki. So, all right, cycle of the sale. So this is the same for all industries, guys. Some of you may be more seasoned. This could be pretty boring for you. But for those of you that have never seen this before, it might just help you to kind of understand how the cycle of a sale works. It's the same for every industry, whether you're trying to sell your husband on where you're going to eat tonight, or whether you're selling training services, or you're selling toothpaste tablets. It's all pretty much the same. It just may be that you call things different names, or that the timing of things is different. You may not need to hit different parts of the cycle as heavily. But we're going to cover these kind of quickly. There's 7 parts. And my goal is just that one of these parts is going to jump out at you. Just take one and go, okay, that's the one that I could do a little bit better on. There's a book called The Compound Effect, and it's little things. It's those little changes that we make, little areas of improvement, not big sweeping changes that add up to big results made. So start out our cycle of the sale with pre-approach. Sorry, I needed a little water. It's a lot of talking for me. So pre-approach is where we learn things about a person or about who we're selling to before we meet them, before we talk to them, before we approach them. And this is important because it really sets the tone. This is where we get information about who the person is, what they like, what they don't like, or maybe who they're connected to. Once we have some pre-approach on them, hopefully, unless like you're doing cold calling, or you may not have any information, in which case you could still Google them and get a little bit of pre-approach at least. But after that, after we get a little bit of information, do our recon work, we're going to approach the person. And this is where we actually talk to them. So we have a phone call, we text them. It's that first touch point where we actually touch human to human. This is a big part, because this is where we can really identify buying behaviors. We can identify personality types, and then we can adapt our language to serve them. So I'm not going to get deep into this because it's advanced stuff, but there are a bunch of different types of people, and the way that you sell to them is a little bit different. So anyway, I won't go into that. It'll take too long, but just know that there are different people, and that if we only sell the way that we like to buy, or in our own personality style, we could be missing out on 75% of the people, just because we didn't quite adapt to their style. We didn't hit the points that are important to them. We didn't adjust our language so that they trust us more quickly. After the approach comes the introduction. And the introduction, this is often called the fact finding or the needs analysis. This is where we gather information from the customer about what their needs are and find out what their pain points are. Why is it that they're interested in buying something? After we do that, we go into our presentation. This is probably the part that we're most familiar with. This is the logic of the sale. I like to think of this as the Spock moment, right? This is where we're giving them features, facts, benefits. For Kara, hopefully I'm saying that right. This would be when you talk about what those toothpaste tablets do specifically, what's in them, how do they function, why is it better than your typical toothpaste? After you present, so you've talked about your services or your product, then you're going to go into the close. Now, close is really just bringing somebody to a yes or a no. It's helping to bring them to a decision. So it's not forcing them to do anything. It's not being manipulative. It's not being pushy. It's just helping them to come to a decision. It's really a service that we do to help keep them from just being stuck in maybe. And it's not often that we go through these first steps and they go, no, not interested, in a real way, like that's not for me, or that they say, yes, absolutely, I'm going to sign on the dotted line right away. They often have some questions or what we like to call objections, right? oh, I don't know, I want to think about it. Oh, I'll give you a call later. And then we need to, if we come into an objection, what we have to do is we have to represent, give them some new information. We reclose them. I don't know if you guys can see my mouse on here, but we reclose them, and then we're going to come up to another objection. This kind of this, we do a dance here.
We can see your mouse.
Oh,
dancing.
good. Whee! All right. Oh, it gets bigger. That's fun. Okay. So we get an objection. A lot of times we don't know what to do when we get to an objection. That's the biggest thing that I see, is that people that are starting out in sales, they go, gosh, I don't know. They said they weren't interested, or they told me that they would call me back later, or they needed to think about it. And so I just gave up. And that's totally okay. You know, it happens to all of us. But what we really want to do is get better at this cycle so that we can cover those objections before they come up, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. I have a tip for that, a way of going through this. But let's just assume that either way, whether they said yes or no, we should always be asking for referrals. Okay, great. If not you, hey, who do you know that would love, that does need toothpaste tablets? If you guys aren't going to carry them, which of your neighbors, which of the people in this complex do you think would sell them? So we're always asking for those referrals. And when we do ask for referrals, we ask for a little bit of pre-approach on it. And then the cycle continues. And oftentimes we forget this referral moment, especially when we get a no or somebody that's not interested. But I'm telling you that the people that said no sometimes are the best people to ask for referrals, because the pressure's completely off of them. They want to help you. They do. People love to help people. And so a lot of times you will get some really great referrals from people that said no to you. All right, so we can't go into each of these in depth today, but I do want to just go into the introduction really briefly, because that's really the most important part and where our sale is made. A lot of us think that it's in the presentation. A lot of us think it's the facts, the features, the benefits. That's why they buy stuff, right? But really it's not. Most people make decisions based on a bunch of other things, and it's our job as salespeople to go through a really good introduction so that we really understand what's important to them, why are they buying, what are their pain points, and then that way we can actually present them things that make sense to them. And when we close, they want to buy, so it's much easier. So I don't know if any of you have ever been in this situation. Hold on, decided to go backwards. Has anybody ever heard, well, I need to think about it, I don't know. Or maybe, oh, just call me back in 6 months. We're not ready to do this now. Or perhaps, I need to speak with my wife or my spouse. I've heard it a lot, and I'm sure you all have. These are some of the most common objections. But if you hear this when you're after you're done presenting your product, so after you're done talking about how great your massages are, or maybe you've talked about your artwork and they're like, I'm not really sure. What we really didn't do is we actually didn't do a good introduction. We didn't find out what's going on with them, and we just kind of presented. We just gave them facts, hoping that that was the fact that they wanted, and it most of the time doesn't really work. So if I could teach you a way that would prevent these questions from happening most of the time, would that be helpful? I would think so. I find it helpful.
I'm just going to say yes for everybody.
Yes. Thank you for saying yes. So I'm going to teach you a quick technique. You can ask the right questions, and this will it can be pretty game changing, whether it's, trying to convince your kid to do something that, that you want them to do, or if it's actually selling your product or service. So CLASP, C-L-A-S-P, it's an acronym. So this is really a way for you to remember a series of questions to ask in your introduction. So just, so this is when you're learning about the person. You've learned something about them before you talk to them in your pre-approach. You approach them, hey, Sarah, ring, ring. And then you're going into your introduction. And this is where clasp comes in. It's pretty quick. You can clasp someone in 4 to 5 minutes. And it's not, once we go through clasp, we haven't gotten them to sign on the dotted line. It's not a absolutely yes, I'm going to buy something. But it is a lot of momentum that you've built, and you've gotten a lot of agreements from them to move forward. So it really just starts that process, and it makes everything else in the sale move a lot quicker. And you'll see what I mean when I get through it. I would love for someone, whoever feels brave, to give me, you can just type in the chat box, an example of what I'm selling and who I'm selling it to. So give me something to sell and someone to sell it to. If you can't think of one, I'll make one up. But this works really well when I can do a little bit of a role play and show you, and I'll play both parts. I won't make anybody get on the stage, but it is really helpful. Anyone? Let's do, you know what? I think, oh, furniture. Furniture you restained and reimagined. And to who? Who are you selling it to, Catherine? Who are you selling this furniture to? Yard sale people. Okay, so people that come by. Awesome. All right, so I'm going to say that this is, oh, people that come by. Let's do it in person. I think that's the best. So somebody that comes by your yard at a yard sale and they're trying to buy, I'm going to call it a dresser that you restained and reimagined. So the first question is currently, and I'm actually going to list these all out really quick for you, just for those that like to know where we're going. So it's currently, like, alter, signer, paint the picture. So we're going to go through each of those. I just wanted to let you know. So the first question is currently. What is your current situation? So I would ask these people, if we're trying to sell this dresser, where do you currently put your clothes? What is your current dresser? What do you already have? What's the furniture like in your house? There's a lot of currently questions that we could ask, but we're just trying to find out what's their current situation. So let's say that I asked, what's your current situation? And this person says that they currently don't have a dresser. I would say, okay, well, where are you currently putting your clothes? Oh, I just hang them in the closet. And you're right, okay. All right, so I've got that. So then I'm gonna go into like. So what do you like about the clothes in the closet, right? What do you like about hanging your clothes in the closet? Or what do you like about your current toothpaste? Or what do you like about all the restaurants that you typically go to, or your current wellness plan, or whatever it is, right? So we're getting, what do you like about it? And this is a really important question. And often it's very challenging to ask, and we forget to ask it. And the reason why is because we're like, hey, we don't want them to like what they currently have. We want them to like my dresser. We want them to like my toothpaste. We want them to like my restaurant or my services, right? So we don't want to remind them of how much they like what they currently do. That's our mindset about it, which is why we typically don't ask. But there's a few important points that we have there's a few important reasons why we need to ask this question. The first one is that people like to buy, but they hate to be sold, right? You might go into a car lot thinking, yeah, I definitely want to buy a car, but I don't want them to sell me on something, right? So we have this sort of, arms are folded, we're pretty reserved. And if we ask them this like question, you'll see it in their body language. They literally will physically relax and go, oh gosh, this is what I really like about it. So that's the first thing. It really relaxes them. It allows you to have a better conversation with them. The second reason, and perhaps the more important reason, is they're telling you why they buy something. They're telling you what's important to them. The point here is that we're really actively listening. So when I asked, if I'm Catherine and I'm selling a dresser to me, which is probably let's actually do that because this would be better. So I'm Catherine at the yard sale, and I'm like, hey, what's your current situation like? With your dresser? And I would say, well, actually, I only have the one dresser, and it was my dad's from the 50s. And she'd go, oh, okay, cool. What do you like about it? And I'd say, oh gosh, I love that that it reminds me of my dad, and that's the main thing I love about it. Also, it's a pretty color. It doesn't really match anything that I have, but it was my dad's. It's cool. Okay, great. So now you know what I like about it. And we could ask more questions here. We could ask more currently, more like, depending on how much time you have. The next question after you know what I like, so Catherine knows that I like that this dresser reminds me of my dad. Nothing else, potentially. You're gonna ask me what you would change about it. So this is a really important question here. If we can get them talking here about what they would change and what they don't like, this is where they're gonna more likely take action and buy something rather than procrastinating. And I'll show you how that works. This is where we're helping to get them to that yes or no and get them to open up emotionally. So when we ask them what they would change, we might say, okay, cool. Yeah. Catherine would say, Nisse, I know that you love that dresser reminds you of your dad. If there was anything you could change about it though, is there anything you might change? Is there anything you could alter? And I would say, well, yeah, actually, I mean, it takes up a lot of room, and there's the drawers kind of stick, and I still don't have enough place. I still don't have enough places to put my clothes. Like, I'm finding new containers around the house to put them, and I don't know where to put all my stuff. Okay, so you've gotten some good information from me out of that, right? I still don't have any places to put my clothes. So in this alter question, what we want to do is immediately our first thought is, got it. I know exactly why she wants to buy this dresser. She's got too many clothes everywhere. I'm just going to sell her this dresser. Well, let me show you this dresser. Look how many clothes you could fit in it, right? So we immediately jump to the presentation. Let me show you how many drawers it has. And it's so great. And the drawers don't stick at all. And we jumped. But what we need to do, and this is next level, simple, but next level, is we need to ask a few more questions here and sit in this part, sit in this alter. And we want to do what we call CPR. Sounds a little graphic, but we're cutting open the wound, we're pouring in the salt, and then we're offering the remedy, okay? And what that means is we need to find that pain for whoever it is. It doesn't have to be deep, deep pain. We're not talking about going into therapy with these people, but we are talking about finding what it is that's going to cause them to take action, cause them to change, because people don't change unless they have a little bit of pain. They just don't. And I'll give you an example of that, and you'll be like, oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. We love to avoid making changes. We all do. It's just a human trait. So for example, perfect example of this that I always use is that my boyfriend's thumb hurt real bad for a real long time. Every day, his thumb, ouch, right? And I'm like, why won't he won't do anything about it? He won't do it, even though it hurts, he's ignoring the pain, right? It's there, but he's not feeling it. He's not feeling the effects of it. He's not living what it is doing to his whole life, okay? So that's where we talked about that. That would be me doing that with, in this example, the clothes. Yeah, I don't have anywhere to put my clothes. But I could live that way forever unless I really felt that pain. Same with the thumb for my boyfriend. Here's the difference. So his daughter came to visit and his thumb hurt. And all of a sudden he's going to push her on the swing and he can't do it because his thumb hurts too bad. He goes to try and pick her up and put her on the slide and he can't do it because his thumb hurts too bad, right? So in that moment, he was like, okay, I need to, and he's made an appointment to go to the doctor right then. because it was that moment that he really felt the effect of the pain, right? I know this is kind of a different example, and I hope you guys are with me on this, but it's not until we have them feel the effects of the pain, until they pick up the kid to put on the swing or the slide, that then they're open to a remedy. It's just, I don't know what it is, but until we have that moment of how it affects your life, we're just not going to make a change. So this is where, and it's really simple to do. I talked about my clothes. And I said, yeah, I don't have anywhere to put my clothes. So what Catherine would do in that moment is go, just sit there, a little bit of silence. And I'm like, yeah, kind of sucks. And you could say like, yeah, it kind of sucks. Let's suck her on laundry day, right? Like, where do you even put everything? I'm like, oh God, I know. And then my laundry piles up and I avoid doing it forever because I don't have anywhere to put anything. And then I have to get rid of all my stuff because like, I don't have anywhere to put it and it gets wrinkly. And you see the difference where I'm like, oh, I had that moment of like, oh, yeah. And now when I'm sitting in that pain, we've made it real. So we poured that salt in. I could go, well, maybe we could help you out with that. And I'd be like, yeah, that'd be great, right? Maybe we could help you. Cool. That's all. So we just slow down, just take a beat. It really doesn't take much, but you want to wait until you get that pain. And you may have to ask a few questions to get to the pain, but you'll know it when you see it. If you skip over that, you'll know because you're going to have a bunch of objections later because they don't have enough motivation to make a change. How many of us could be a little more effective at this? I know I could. I mean, and I've been doing this a long time. So this is a new thing for you guys, but even just practicing this a little bit and having some awareness of it and the psychology will help. Okay. The next two questions are kind of quick and sort of a formality once you've gone through Alter and you did your CPR. So this is what this might look like. Signer stands for the person that signs on the bottom line, essentially the decision maker. So I would go, okay, cool. Well, I'd love to show you some of the furniture that I have, some of the dressers that I have. Just really quickly though, before I show you some stuff, are you the one that usually makes all the decisions on the furniture? Or is this something that your husband or your child or whoever would want to be involved in? And we often skip that one too, because we assume that they're the decision maker, they're the one there. But guess what happens? We build all this, if I'm trying to buy a dresser, but really my boyfriend or my husband or whoever is the one that actually makes the choices, then you've spent all this time building up all this momentum, getting all this pain. And then I'm going to go back home and I'm going to tell my spouse, oh, I found this great dresser. And he's going to go, no, you're not getting another dresser. We don't have any space. We're not doing this. I don't want, right? And then you've wasted a lot of time, both yours and theirs. So you really just want to double check. It's just a quick like, hey, by the way, would you want anybody else involved in this choice? Or do you buy all the furniture? If nothing else, you've at least gotten them to admit that they're the one that makes the decision. Okay, so we went through Alter, we went through the signer, and then the last one is that we paint the picture back. Okay, and this is pretty quick. Really, all we're doing is we're just listing back the things that she likes and and including the things that she doesn't like. So I would say, if I were Catherine talking to me, and I would say, okay, cool. Well, Nisse, it sounds like you really love the dresser that you have, and you love that it reminds you of your dad and the style that it's in. If we could find something that would go with that dresser that wouldn't take away from the look that your dad's dresser has and would fit in your house, but we could look at some options that might let you put all of your clothes away, right, rather than having them all over the floor. Is that something that you would want to talk more about? Is that something that you would want to look at? And most of the time, almost all the time, they're going to say yes. Yes, absolutely I do. Because all you did was repeat back the things that they wanted. And so it's pretty simple. You're not selling. I haven't sold anything up to this point, right? I haven't talked about anything that I offer. I just asked what their current situation was, what they like about it, what they might change, made sure that they're the one that makes the decision. And then I asked them if they were open to talking about something that might do the things that they like and not do the things that they don't like. And almost always they're going to say yes. And then you go into your presentation where you're showing them the dressers, you're showing them the furniture that you have, you're giving them options, and then you close them after that. So it's a really good tool. I know we're running out of time, so I did have some more things that I was going to go through. But just quickly, I know we were going to talk about doubling referrals. This is the quickest, easiest thing that you could learn. All you got to do is ask for them. Just ask for referrals. Just do it and you will double them. Almost nobody ever asks. I have a whole 7 steps of asking for referrals and how you do it. We're clearly out of time because I blabbed too much, and I was thinking that we were going to cover more stuff, but that's, I think, where we're going to leave it for today. And if any of you want more, you want to learn more about what we offer, Barbara is here to tell you all about becoming a client. And I highly recommend, by the way, remember the law of diminishing intent. If you are thinking about getting any consulting or you want to get any help, I recommend that you do it now. Otherwise, you won't do it later. And that's it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Nisse. She is practicing what she preaches. And I've seen her at work, and she really does make you just want to buy whatever it is she's selling. And I'm sure that my car salesman took lessons from you. So if you want to work with Nisse, the link is in the chat box. You can always contact us as well, whichever center is closest to you. We have some more classes that may be of interest to you. We all have to do taxes, and there's going to be a mid-year tax checkup on the 20th. The 27th, that is responsible credit management. Wells Fargo was going to be talking to us about that. Then we have navigating change, resiliency in the face of disequilibrium. That's really a self-care webinar, and it's going to be done with cameras, and the presenter is very present with her audience. So if that speaks to you, that's going to be a good one. We'll be talking about Ascent on the 30th, and that is the SBA's program for women entrepreneurs. It's a self-guided tour and answers a lot of your questions about how to be an entrepreneur. And then we have entrepreneurial training. So if you want one-on-one, if you want a group class with accountability, then maybe a 10-session entrepreneurial training class is for you, where we cover everything from A to Z in training. There's a $100 refundable deposit right now on that. We just want you to be in with both feet, but we give you back the money at the end. And we also have one in Spanish, Empezando. So whatever works for you, let us know. We'd love to hear from you. We are here simply to serve you. So let us know how we can help. Thanks so much for coming. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.